front line. Ooh, what kind of man could I be if I can't talk about what I see? Oh, they tell me got to beware. Take the little money and go. Me no want no dirty money. No, me no want no dirty money. Oh, mama, mama, you got me living on the front line. Oh, mama, mama, you got me born in the wrong time. Oh, yeah, yeah, whoa, yeah, woo, 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 yeah, yeah, whoa, yeah.
Yes, with Eddie Grant in the background there, I bid you all welcome once more to another edition of the Ag Hour. It's Sunday, 23rd of March. And today I have none other than my good friend, Dr. Cyril Roberts in the house. Dr. Roberts, well, he is, in my view, an agriculturalist extraordinary. You know, this fella, I've known him since younger age, teenage years. He went to what B&BV called farm school. That school where farmers were supposed to have been trained. In other words, people were supposed to have been able to be trained there to become farmers, going through the rigors of agriculture on a farm to eke out a living. But sadly, it has been producing government functionaries in the main. It has been producing bureaucrats. And with that, I'll ask Dr. Roberts to introduce himself.
Thanks, Elton. I don't know if I'm extraordinary, but I am a proud agriculturalist, and I did begin my training at the Ghana School of Agriculture, as we say, farm school. Actually, I sometimes like to think that I started earlier than that because I have many relatives who are farmers, some of them in the Mucker area, some of them on the highway, some of them on the West Coast. And I also am proud to say that our school, called back school in them days, but East Randville Government Secondary, we had a proud tradition of turning out graduates who went on to farm school because we had a very strong and successful agriculture program there or gardening program there. But subsequently, I've gone on and trained overseas. When I started my university training, agriculture wasn't offered at UG. And so I studied in Indiana at Purdue University. And later on, I went to the Philippines at the International Rice Research Institute. And then finally did my PhD in Iowa at Iowa State University. I have worked in Australia, in the US, around the Caribbean, especially Barbados and Guyana. And like to think of myself as a technologist who is interested in having or empowering the farmer to have starting material, genetic material that gives them the best advantage with for whatever inputs they put into it there. But my formal designation is breeder geneticist biotechnologist.
Thank you very much, Dr. Roberts, for that introduction. Now you see why I'm saying, he is saying that the extraordinary is not there, but many of us who work alongside him and has worked in agriculture know why that extraordinary has to remain there, because he is talking about creating new species of plants or new genomes, whatever they call it, because he's a geneticist. It's not anybody, and everybody can actually evolve and do a different plant to meet uh, or uh, a variety of plant to which will withstand certain conditions that we want it to withstand and be productive as we want it to be productive. And Dr. Roberts is one of those persons. So he's special. Anyhow, today we are not going to talk about his speciality because over the years he has developed much, much more than that speciality. Today we want to talk about agriculture, the business of agriculture. Now, when I say the business of agriculture, remember I said he went to farm school and not the guy in the School of Agriculture because that school was supposed to be producing farmers. That school was supposed to be producing the people who would have accepted, who would have been able to convert, or as one of our former presidents, prime minister would have said, let Guyana become the breadbasket of the Caribbean. We are still struggling to achieve that aim. And that school achieved its aims of creating those farmers who would have been technologically savvy, who would have been intuitive businessmen, then we would have had a different Guyana today, I want to feel. So, Dr. Roberts, how do you see farming as a business?
Let me start by saying that I agree with you that farm school was supposed to be turning out a mix of farmers and technologists, and we ended up turning out primarily technologists. But I still feel that certainly when during my time there, we had a practical exposure to empower our graduates to indeed be an impactful help to our agriculture sector. We, believe it or not, during my time at GSA, we were having poultry that empowered us to produce hatching eggs and chicks that from those eggs to be sold on the local market. And while that might be a high point in my pride on proudness of the school, we did basic things like producing hams and sausages and jellies and sauces and so forth there. And of course, we fed ourselves largely with the milk and poultry and pigs and vegetables. And of course, in those times, Monrepo and the segment that we were in had lots of open space. So we would have had exposure to rice farming and sugarcane lands that were right in our locale, apart from having many research fields, both for animal and crops, because the Central Agriculture Station was part of Monrepo. And I think so. We can say that somewhere along the line we kind of got lost in our trust in that Monrepo is no longer the hub of agricultural scientific knowledge in the country, and it has evolved much differently to what it was back in those days there. But as you said, I have evolved in my outlook on agriculture, and I don't just see myself anymore as somebody who is there to improve the germplasm, but I am very passionate about working with stakeholders towards empowering them to be the financially sustainable and independent from their farming activities. The farm school that I went to, I was largely influenced by the principal who had as a mantra that has stuck with me that farming must not be something that is subsistent. It should be something that is a business, and you should be doing it full time, and it should be paying for all the things you want, whether it's sending your children to school, the transportation, their uniforms, paying all your bills. If you want to take a boat cruise, whatever it is there, the money must come from agriculture. And the message I got from what he was saying is that too many of us see agriculture like if it's a box you throw in. So occasionally you get a bump or a raise from it, but really and truly the money that carries you through life comes from other activities, and farming just supplemented it. And so that's where I would want to go with the discussion more or less this afternoon. That how can we make that a reality in our communities out there, that the farmer is earning enough from farming activities and is doing it on a sufficient scale that he can pay for his inputs and his labor and pay himself a decent salary, and the operation at the end of the year returns a dividend on investment there. So it should be a business.
You know, we are living in a world where the farmer oftentimes is not given his due, right? And the farming activity also is not given the due recognition that it should take, right? Because I remember going to school. You said you went to
At school, East Randolph Secondary.
Not your secondary school, but I would go even further back to primary school.
My primary school was St. Philip's.
Where when the child was not bright, quote unquote, that's the child will go to the woodwork section or to the garden section and do some gardening or do some woodwork. In other words, we start to frame in the minds of our young people that farming is for not the gifted or talented child. It's for the backbencher, if we want for a classification within the classroom setting. It's not for the ones who find themselves in front and lead the class in every discussion or in terms of grades and so on. I see Dr. Francis is with us. Maybe she can bring a question or two to you. Yeah, so.
Good afternoon, Pat.
I want to say this here.
Hi, good afternoon, Dr. Roberts.
Why are we so formal? I thought I was Robbie. I'm your boss right now, you know. Pat worked with us at Cardi in Barbados, and we had some good times. And she was one of those who most warmly welcomed me when I returned to Ghana to head the Cardi program there. So good afternoon to you, Pat.
Yes, good afternoon, Robbie. Are you in Guyana by any chance?
No, I'm in Barbados right now. I was recently in Ghana just under a month ago for a funeral in Bartica. Okay. So I was down there for 2 weeks, but I kept a low profile because I was there to support the grieving.
Yes, of course.
So I ain't really see nobody. Everybody vexed. Who knew that I was wrong? I did see Mac though.
I didn't see Mac myself.
Alrighty.
Yes. Anyhow, the thing is, as I was saying, we start off by making farming that low profile, as you just used the word low profile activity, the activity that is undesirable, not the first choice activity, right? So in that way, we see it's not even at the level of governance. For instance, I worked in the Ministry of Agriculture. There was only one professional agriculturalist who I am aware of that ever became a PS for that ministry. And that was Mr. John Browman. I saw him the other day, still going strong.
Yeah.
All the other people who headed that ministry, because the apart from the ministers, the head of the ministry is the PS. All the other people who have headed that ministry were accountants, whatever other professions, but not an agriculturist, though it's an agriculture ministry. So we never give farming or agriculture the prominence, the person who chooses agriculture, the kind of recognition he or she deserves. So we have that. So when we go now to the business end of it, also it's not our attitude to it is not a business thing. It's just something we do, that kind of a thing. How do we deal with that, my brother? Robbie.
um, you said a mouthful there, and my ears is overflowing in trying to get back to my mouth to give you a response, so to speak. Certainly, when I got into agriculture, I got in at the high school point where it was the policy of the prime minister at the time, Forbes Burnham, that detention cannot be weeding and forking and doing agricultural related things. So my detention in my high school was good because if you come late, you have to write 500 times, I will not be late or something like that. We weren't going out in the sun pelting fork or weeding or anything like that. That stopped during my time in high school there. I think the challenge with it really is to build on some of the things that were started back in those days. And something as simple as cooperatives, whereby if the technologists put together a plan, business plan, or whatever you want to call it, that shows if you farm on this scale, you can afford to pay this kind of salary and make the thing work, that we probably will need some support from at the policy level to empower us to make that happen. Because apart from the financial support that is going to be necessary, we also need the environment that allowed the marketing and the support to package and transport the goods to the consumers, and biasing those consumers to eat local, and if they gotta pay a little bit more for it, that money is circulating within our communities, and so it's going to come back to you in a roundabout way. Um, but it's not something that can be addressed at successfully at the personal level. I mean, when I came back to Ghana to work with Cardi in 2015 at the time, I ran into trouble with my brother, who's a medical doctor, because I tell you, I didn't come to work with Cardi. I come to check with the place, and I want to get in to private farming. And he tell me I gotta be mad. No, nobody can give up a job that paying to sort of go in and do farming. Well, you could say I was a coward. I didn't do it, but certainly the message to start with needs to be that you have to put your all into it, and then make that all sustain and pay for your existence. And if it that will probably mean that we'll need, in the first instance, agencies, organizations, ACDA could be one of them, that will lobby for the schools, GSA, UG, and the agencies, the NARIs and GLDAs, to be actively involved with the farmers in the fields to make what they are doing productive and financially successful. Um, we want to get to the point where the technologists has sufficient respect, the agricultural technologists have sufficient respect for the farmer, because what he is doing, since this is what he's living by, has a different reality to the theory that you would have learned when you got your training, and then get the farmer in return to start respecting you because they know now, since you're working alongside them, that you have something to contribute. And if we can get that respect started between those two, maybe we can get the wider society and the policymakers to give agriculture its rightful due. I also find it interesting, by the way, that it's unfortunate that the guys who jump into practical farming, unfortunately, my colleague Pat is not one of them. We're always teachers and soldiers and rarely agriculturalists. And so something is amiss in our upbringing and training, that we don't lose the technologists to the farm. You know, if you started out as a lawyer, engineer, or doctor, you apprentice for a while with somebody, and then sooner or later you break off and go on your own. Wouldn't that be wonderful if in agriculture we did the same thing, that you learn your thing for a few mornings at CAS or NARI or wherever you want to call it, and then the pull and the attraction to get into the field is so strong. And there was a period of time in our history when a lot of us, I remember Bristol Carter and others, who had private farms while they were working, and the intention was sooner or later they're going to break away and go and do that full time. But by and by, that didn't happen. And so we don't have a whole lot of formally trained agriculturalists who are practicing agriculture today, or along the way. You probably could count them and still have fingers remaining.
I think it's more than that, because as I said, from growing up, we have relegated the farming activity as a second chance thing, something that is not suited for you to present to be, should not be your first choice, right? Because even though you said at your school it moved from being the detention activity to another place, but within our psyche we still feel that we have to do something else, and this is a second thing. There was a time
We won that competition because we had a national school garden competition, and we won it consistently during my time there. So certainly the impact from it was real in that way. I could say that in my home, my dad subscribed to your thinking, because I had a big fight to pursue an agricultural career. He didn't support it until he finally realized, well, the boy's serious, because he had to sign my paper for me to get into GSA. I was underage, and he signed it and hid it. And when I find it and submitted it, he didn't know that it had gone in. But that's the kind of thing I had to do. And in our home, because of influence from in-laws and other relatives, my brothers, the medical doctor and the engineer, I mean, Selwyn had 20 or more cows in lodge. And again, in wanting to pursue it as a career, the I would say the policy support wasn't there, because they had to move the animals from that area, carry them somewhere up the East Bank, and so animals started attacking, and government wasn't replacing them properly. And the pasture support was not there, and that went down. But even Galton, from that upbringing, pursued it, and today he has 20 acres of land there in Hararuni. But again, the kind of policy support that is needed to make these things happen is not there. So that is turning out to be a failed venture there. So yeah, the lack of respect and the lack of glamour and grandeur for the vocation is not there. But nevertheless, I still feel that policy support is needed so that we can get more success of those who are in it, and then we can highlight that success to attract more people to come into it.
Yeah, well, definitely, that change of attitude isn't it? So no, but we are kind of deviating from what might we had discussed earlier, that you will be the business of agriculture. We need to go back to that. No,
Mhm.
say the people who are there now, how can we make them more? What do they need to do to make their active farming activity more successful and maybe more rewarding, for want of a better word? What do you think is necessary at this point in time? Because you mentioned your brother with 20 acres. There are many other farmers on the highway, 10, 15, 20 acres, 30 acres, 40 acres. There was one man, the Jones family, sometime back, they were doing well, as far as I'm concerned, until Mr. Jones died. But sadly, apparently his children did not have the interest or couldn't carry it forward. But I like Mr. Jones' farm at Dalgate,
Mhm.
where you acres of peanuts going. And I think that's where that was sustainable. It's kind of activity, I think, is what we're talking about.
Um, can I invite Pat to lead off on that exact thing, because Pat had a passion for incubator starting at UWI there, and I know she has done some work at UG in trying to bring the academe to the farm. And why don't I invite her to lead off there, and I will jump in, because I have strong ideas on the matter, and I know I've become unpopular with some people for being too strident in them. So let me bat carefully and say, the pat roll up the first.
Yes. Well,
But we know you love bananas, but let the people see your face, please, my sister.
yeah, I am not dressed for this occasion. I am
But
not.
we need the bananas, my sister. Because I didn't
Pat,
expect you to
Pat,
be
Pat,
to be
I don't know if
offline.
I want to agree with that, because your natural beauty is such that you're always dressed.
Oh my gosh. Thank you very much, Robbie. But I was in my garden and then I had to look at this thesis and I just got caught up in everything.
Mhm.
Anyway, I want to agree with Robbie that one of the main problems with agriculture as a business um, goes right back to policy. Truly, because I have tried so many different things, and the enabling environment has got to be there to
Critical phrase,
underpin.
very critical phrase, an
Yes, it's
enabling
very
environment.
critical because so we academics, we have written so much, we have researched so much on this topic, and still we're still struggling. So it goes back to policy. Uh, what is really, to my mind, what is truly required is getting back to where we started, where agriculture as a business would start in the schools and definitely at the Guyana School of Agriculture. The unfortunate thing about the Guyana School of Agriculture, it is that they suffer from many things. This whole country is suffering from many things, but they did not, over all of this extended period. You hear Robbie's talking about producing, breeding chicks and all of this. And we are just going around in circles. Why? Because the person who is graduating from the Guyana School of Agriculture, as well as from the university, or anywhere else, any other university, they are not hitting the ground with the sort of enabling environment which allows them to become successful as a business person. Remember, most of the people who are going to hit the ground, as Robbie said, he was on the age. I was a young person thinking that I would be an entrepreneur, but the enabling environment was not there. And it's still not there. Still not there. So the government has to, through its agencies, and particularly the Ghana School of Agriculture, um, they have to set up the platform whereby a young person must leave the school with more than their certificate in hand. They have to leave with the land, they have to leave with the mentorship, they have to leave with the money. You see? And if those things are in place, then the young person will put their intellect and their muscle to the business. Then they would be able to absorb the technology that we older people or scientists from all over the place want to put on onto the people. So interestingly, what I found is while I was in Barbados, quite an interesting experience. Um, I could get far more done with the farmers in Barbados than I could have gotten done with the farmers in Guyana. This is the truth.
It's unfortunate.
This is the truth.
That
And
that that is so.
because the enabling environment was there,
Yep.
the
Yep.
enabling environment was there. When students graduating from the Guyana School of Agriculture, UG, when and don't I tried it, Robbie, as you know that I'm not going to stop. I tried it many times.
Mhm.
I did all manner of permutation and combination of things, and it does not work simply because the mentorship, the money, and the land are not there. They're not in one place and showering upon these young people. As a matter of fact, many young people very clearly indicate that this is what they want to do. They told many senior officials in Guyana, and it is written in many reports. You know, we love reports,
Mhm.
and sitting on shelves. So until we do that, the ship is not going to leave the shore. We're going to continue to struggle. So what I find is happening now, um, it's that those persons who are like lawyers and doctors and engineers and old timers like myself and Robbie, maybe we got a little 5 cents put up somewhere. Now we are turning to the land. Mind you, at the time when I wanted some land, no one would give not even a square inch to me
Yeah.
because the socio-cultural environment too does not support it. It's quite an interesting phenomenon. Doesn't
Yeah.
support it. I mean, I don't even know if it supports it now, but certainly back in the day, it didn't support it. So what I have said to myself, look, whoever's on the ground, I will work with them. So I heard Robbie said that he had some relatives in Mocha, and I have dedicated my energies to working with Mocha because
Yeah.
the good thing about working in Mocha is there are a number of graduates from GSA and UG in Mocha.
Mhm.
So when I turn up and I tell them, look, I want you to try out this thing. What do you think about it? I'm getting a lot more encouragement in terms of what they're doing, and they're showing me, and and so on. If you tell them, look, you want to take the temperature of the compost, um you show them the thing, they are going to do it, and they are more willing to take on the technology than other people. Mind you, we have given so much technology to so many people, and they have really rebuffed the technology. This is the truth.
Mhm.
You give them the milking machine, and when you turn up a couple years later, they don't even know that they had it. You go into the back of the place and you look and you say, well, what's that? And then they say, well, yeah, that you're talking about. So it's a problem, not lost, but the ship hasn't left the shore. And I'm still advocating for the mentorship. In other words, when a student leaves GSA, they must be ready to hit the ground if they want. Not everybody is going to be an entrepreneur, but if they
Right.
want, they should be able to hit the ground running, knowing that people like myself and Roberts and McCrae and all of us are in some kind of consortium where they can call on us, because the younger folk who are in the extension service, they are too green. Everybody want to go abroad. So they're too green, 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 green. So we need Robbie and McCrae and Francis and some others, Luke, and these people to embrace these young people who want to move forward. So this is what I am doing now, truly. Last ditch effort.
Yes.
Seeing some success, but a lot more could be done if the policy framework is in place. As the
Okay.
short answer for that massive, decades long problem.
Yeah, the mentorship definitely is critical, and I accept that we've lost too many of our experienced persons, and we have a lot of inexperienced persons on the ground who are being challenged to do a lot there. But
Yeah,
I they this the enabling environment, though. I mean, we didn't fully get it, but we were on our way. So that when myself and Kelvin went out to study, we were studying at a school where there were a lot of dropouts. Guys would come in, do the relevant courses, and go back to the farm, whether it's landscaping, turf, or dairy, or pigs, or thing there. And I came from an environment where finishing what you started educationally was something we were very proud of. But many of them would come back later on to finish the degree, but the environment that they were operating in was one in which you could make money if you had basic knowledge and the opportunities were presented. I had a lot of friends similarly who were doing computer science that were dropping out. They just did the relevant courses and they gone after Casio and Texas Instruments to make money there.
yeah,
So when Kelvin got that disease, I was very scared because here there was two of us doing BSs. I was encouraged before I left to try and get yourself a graduate qualified in breeding and genetics. And Kelvin came after me. And all Kelvin talking about is going back home and getting into farming business. And I said, well, oh, you going before me? And I'm here trying to be this technologist there. So the environment was coming along, but then suddenly it got derailed because there was no more agribank. There was no more deliberate policy. I mean, I saw something in the papers the other day where they're talking about opening up hives, beehives in some place or the other, and another one about putting on a set of greenhouses in another area there. If we had policies where we decided that we need to produce so much corn or so much soybean or so much whatever, and this is the demographic we're going to put it in, and we openly go after trying to recruit persons and include GSA and UG graduates in that setup there. So they have the land, the mentorship, even if we got to import it and to assist, is there to give them that technology transfer, and the funding is there. So it could turn it around. And so where I'm coming from at this point is along the line that even if a lot of it is daydreaming, at a minimum, I would like, especially the technologists, to be able to know that if you want to make this minimum amount, let me say you say a farmer with one wife and two children should be paying himself a salary of 250 a month. That if you're getting into rice or vegetables or bees or poultry, this is the minimum holding that you should have to be able to
Yes.
do that. If you're less
Yes.
than that, then you're going to be subsistent. You're going to do something else to catch your hand.
Yes.
And if we can get that as a minimum start off, then we could say we are on the way to making anything a business, because we need this kind of money there to support it, and then we need this kind of market to get our produce off our hand there and keep it going there.
But it's interesting that you said 250. I said to a group of people that I'm working with, well, I'm working with the whole village of Muka. So, but we had identified, we had been working with 10 households.
Mm-hmm.
Their thing is they have households and then they have farmland.
Right.
And I've been working with myself and other persons from UG. We've been working with them for a few years. And
Mm-hmm.
I said to them the other day, one on one, I said, look, you got to make at least $200,000 a month.
Yeah.
Is that, I asked them, I said, is that too low?
And
You
that's
know,
that's that,
is
that,
that,
and that's a good question, Pat, because when I was trying to come up with a number, I said the only way I will accept real criticism on it is if a study or interview or people could come out and says, with 250 as a farmer living in Mocha or Hararuni or Hague or wherever, this is how it is going to be spent generally. So much on food, so much on transport, so much on whatever. And if it turns out that it is still too low, we need to bump it up. And don't forget, I'm not comparing that money to what the laborers and farm hands are going to be getting.
right?
Um, I'm saying that respecting the farmer as somebody who, whether he be into GSA, UG or not, that's the thinking he should be holding himself up at. And he should be seeing himself as an employer. So
Yes.
you can't tell you that he must earn bottom minimum wage. So
No.
we start in somewhere there, and hopefully with time and experience, it keeps getting higher.
Yes. Well, when I said to a couple of families, I said, each individual who is on this project must earn 200,000. And I said, is it too low? And they looked at me and they said, no, Doc, it's not too low. I said, okay, well, we will work from there
Mm-hmm.
and I will show you, and together we will work to ensure that at least we hit that 200,000 mark by X
Yeah.
date.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the trick with that is that it is the recording of what you're making.
Mm-hmm.
And no one well, I haven't found anyone up to this point who likes to keep records in
Yeah.
agriculture. I just haven't found these people, regardless of where I've worked. And so I know it's got to be very simple, and it's got to be in a way that they could manage it. So it
And
can't
that and that's
be,
and that's where the business comes in, because
yes,
once
it can be a
you've got these
workshop,
parameters there.
not a
um,
workshop. Workshop can't work.
oh,
You could have a workshop because we've had workshop, but one on one. Recently, we got some computers out of some I think it's HBCU in the US. And
Mhm.
so each person now has a computer. And at UG, we worked out a very simple program where they could input whatever. We sat down with them and worked out, well, how much of this, how much of that, and so on. And so when prices change or so on, they can punch it in, and so they don't
Mhm.
have to be price takers. They
Right.
will know what what is uh,
Mhm.
the least amount of money they could um, charge for something.
Exactly.
Yes. So we have begun to do that, and I'm seeing some progress with that. So, for example, a couple days ago, I said to them, I said, man, how much is this plant? And I said, not part Francis price, I want to know how much you could sell it for. And they said that we could sell for $100. I haven't
Mhm.
asked to see the working yet, but
Right.
they can do their own thing, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful.
It's like the business of the poultry farmers. I mean, I learned early in the game that they can't keep the broilers beyond a certain time because you're putting in feed and you're not going to get back that money.
Right.
And they were some of the first guys that knew their cost of production.
Yes.
And this is what they must sell for, and must it's linked to this time. If
Yes.
we can get all our guys to know, well, listen. Or another example, I remember I brought in some farmers from Perica to see some planting of bananas that we brought in to have resistance to black sigatoka and whatever the disease they were having. And I brought them about 20 of these guys in Monrepo to see the fields and basically let them see side by side. These are the varieties that they're having right now, and these are the things that we brought in and look at how they withstanding the disease. And most of them farmers just look at me and walked away and start chewing and grumbling. And by the time I get under the skin to find out what the hell going on, them man tell me those sucker plants you got there and the bunches that they're showing out, if them being for me farmer chop it down. It has
Oh,
to have a certain minimum standard in a
yes.
certain time if it is going to
Yes.
pay. And I found myself apologizing that, look, we didn't really plan these properly to let it bear. We planted these to be so that they could stand the disease. And they said, what the hell you tell me about disease? And if look, you're wasting my time. So we had to repeat the thing by sending it on their farm, let them
Yes.
plant it. And so they're only looking at the disease, they're also looking at the productivity. And then
Yes.
now I was able to contribute something more to it now by getting Sterling and somebody else to come up and tell me, fine, the farmers have something to sell you. These varieties, they weren't the regular color like we have. Some of them were cooking bananas. Some of them were whiter plantain, yellower plantain. So what can they market is what I'm getting at there. But
Yes.
it fits in the way you're saying that it's a business. And if
Yes.
you're doing it as a business, there's a cutoff point by which if you go beyond, you're throwing away money, you can't get it back.
Yes.
You can't
And
sell
this
it for
is
more.
yeah, this is something that you can't rush it. This is something that takes time because people are accustomed to doing, even some of them who've gone to GSA and to UG, they have not been exposed to top of the line technology.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not talking about no pie in the sky stuff. Things
Mm-hmm.
that really would help them to move forward. So when they come out now, they really need some experienced people. The mentorship is terribly, terribly important because
Yeah.
if you're going to tell a man or a woman, look, don't carry these chickens beyond 5.5 weeks, you can't really go with no graph and no chart to show them. You really got to just talk cash. Really?
Yeah.
I heard one of my assistants telling the guy about some big word. I said, hey, hold on. Hold on. Just tell them that this thing, what um more feed, a bag more of feed on this bird or these set of birds, what is going to mean,
Mm.
what is
To, to,
going
to
to
stay
actually
to stay
mean.
to stay in that vein, but I've had poultry farmers here when I could tell when a leg or a wing was Bajan produced versus when it was imported. And basically, I don't know if they need you back to help them with their nutrition thing there, but they basically says, if we get this thing bigger, we can make the return on the investment that we want. But on the other hand, the people still want a whole wing or a whole thigh or a whole like drumstick there.
Yes,
So
I big.
when time meet, this is what I got to pay for. And so I said, but these things are so puny. I mean, so when I went back to Guyana and I could tell, boy, I said, we wings and we think we're much bigger. I wonder if that people really making money.
I don't know, but what I realize is that the other thing is you really can't teach what you don't do. That is the other thing.
Hmm.
The
Very
technologists,
important.
yes, the technologists have gotta, even in a small way, run this thing so they understand how it works. You see?
Very
And
much so.
I
Very
find
much
that
so.
when I'm explaining something, I'm in a good place because this is something that I have actually done
Hmm.
and something that I'm actually doing.
Yep.
So, and they respect that really and
Hmm.
truly. But at the I can't get the Robbie. We still need the technologists. We still need the scientists. But
That's what I'm saying. It's a hand and glove thing there. Both are
yes,
needed, but we're also not asking that the policymakers need to understand that they have a role to play
yes,
also too. But
yes.
certainly, if we can get, I mean, when I went to a farm on the highway, I don't remember the guy name right now that Elroy took me to, and the guy had sheep and poultry and dairy cattle and citrus and other things going on there that Elroy was interacting with there. And I said to him when I left that it's a pity that UG don't have a program where classes, students before they graduate have to spend time as some kind of project to work directly with a farmer to enhance their earning by actually doing things, whether we got to find a way for them to live on the farm or live nearby and come there. But we want them to put in the time there so they actually learn farm agriculture and not just book agriculture there
Right,
because
right.
there are things that you might even be thinking that you would like to do, and you don't realize because of the unique thing of practical agriculture, and make it even more unique because it's in a Guyana situation that that thing you're talking about can't work. It might get you A at JC or UG, but it can't work on the man farm.
Right, 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 right.
So,
Well, as I said, the young people, because those are the people that we got to really depend on now. Um, the
and
young people got to,
that's a big challenge for us because I'm finding it harder and harder to connect to them.
But we are not
I work to help a farmer on a highway set up a hydroponic system, and the biggest challenge I had is that demanding electricity. So
oh Lord,
how do I get this thing to flow using gravity feed and so forth there? And we designed it and we built it and it worked. But then the way you could say that I failed is that the input, the soluble fertilizers has to be imported, and
yes,
nobody was bringing it in. Stanislas, there's a guy there with Kelvin them who had pushed some of that technology. So
yes,
he and Kelvin's son is bringing it in by the year, And whenever he owned done it done. I mean, I understand now there are people selling it, but the point is nobody was selling soluble fertilizer, hydroponic fertilizer. You got to bring it in yourself there. So, and I
Yes.
telling the guy, well, look, you are returning national. You could bring this thing to the parking or what have you not. And the man get back with me and he said, oh, why ain't a foreign exchange to do this room? And I said, but you got a foreign credit card. He said, that's for when I get sick. That's not for no buy nothing for no agriculture around you, Roberts.
As a matter of fact, there's been renewed interest in the hydroponic uh, way of farming, and I am keeping far away from it because been down that road, know of all
Yeah.
the stuff that
Yeah, and
Kelvin
some
and
some some of the
Munoz and them
things,
did.
some of the things you have to make it practical and realistic. So
Yes,
when
I
you're
just
saying that the
I'm
guy
keeping
is
away from it.
graduating, to be able to hit the ground running, it means that they got to spend some time. I mean, there's a bad word called national service, but I'm of the view if I'm gonna give you money to go to school for free from kindergarten to university, you got to give back Guyana something. And somewhere along the line, you need to be out there as part of your training to work with a real farmer in a real farming situation, and both of y'all be benefiting from it because you know what this guy needs and real, and he's learning. Oh, so that's how that works, and that's why that was done, and we all grow from it there. But like I said, it's a bad word, and I didn't say it, but some or
Okay.
the other,
I will say it.
Well,
more
I will
needs to
say
be
it.
well,
I will
done.
say it. I will say it. You know, the thing is,
More must be done to marry the graduate so that when he graduates, he can hit the ground running. He knows
yes,
something.
yes. I tell you the truth, Robbie, I would like to see um, GSA embrace the program of the farmer, of the
Hmm.
entrepreneur, let's call it the entrepreneur, because agriculture is so broad.
Yeah.
And, I had gone to the extent of writing a program for them, and it was received in a kind of haphazard and not in a good way. So I had to let that go,
Yeah. Yeah.
at least for that time. They at UG now, UG needs land. UG doesn't have any land on which what needs to be done could get done.
Hmm.
Really and truly, it doesn't have it. So the I don't know why we can't get land because we have so much land in this country. It's very
Yeah.
vexing. Um,
university
That's
had a farm. What happened to
it,
the university farm?
no, the university just got a little handkerchief of land there. That can't work. Um,
Anyway,
yeah. I
that's
mean,
a
you
little handkerchief of land.
are
So
lacking a
I ain't talking about that at all.
any
Um,
land grant university in the states got serious land, and we
serious
need to
land,
get we need to
serious
get
land.
some land that if you're saying that this is the minimum acreage that you need to, or this is the minimum number of poultry or pigs or whatever, that the university has multiples of that so that you
Of
can actually
course,
go out and work on it there. So
of course. And
it can't be in Turkine.
no, as a matter of fact, sometimes I wonder if I'm the only person who study in the United States. I usually ask myself, but these other people, they didn't study there. Didn't they see all of the people have? Huh?
Yeah.
Didn't they
Yeah.
go to all these massive farms and all of this and so they belong to
Mhm.
these universities and see what they're doing and see, I don't know. It's kind of crazy to me. Um,
No,
but I see that the
definitely.
university must get land, as a matter of fact, a significant amount of land. And I
Mhm.
see the university must twin with industry. The unfortunate part of industry in this country is that we don't really have the people on the ground, the manufacturers on the ground who maybe have a mind, very few, to do the sort of things that need to be done to move agriculture along. Um, I don't know what kind of incentive they need or what, but truly, I mean, look at coconut. I mean, goodness grief. Um,
Uh,
you know,
don't open the can of worms because I, I was passionate and then I got angry, then I got hope, lost all hope because I thought that that was a perfect marriage for the university to step in because there's a big hole there for germplasm development. There's a big hole there for technology transfer. And I mean, part of the whole setup is how do we um, get the farmer or the entrepreneur to recognize that he has a problem and that the university or NARI or GSA could assist in resolving that problem there. And they
yes,
take on that challenge. It can't just be a buy and sell thing there where you bring
too
in
much of buying and selling going on. Too much
that that
of
that
buying
that,
and
that can't
selling
work.
nonsense.
And GSA's program that Grace is doing. I mean, I went to a few of those and the semester things when they showcase what they're producing and that thing should be really expanded to have a marriage with the restaurants and the hotels. And I even brought in somebody who saw some of the products at GMC and wanted them to produce it to sell. And only to find out that I got me head up someplace else because there's somebody we don't have the support and infrastructure to manufacture the thing on a commercial scale. So we just plain dally house.
Yes,
So it comes
it
back to
all
what I
comes
started
back
by
to
saying. We
policy.
need policy support.
Yes, it all comes back to policy, you know. So
Yeah.
I say, must he got to become Minister of Agriculture to make this thing happen. Because other
But
than that,
you were threatening me with that a long time ago. What happening, girl?
I'm scared of these politicians that they have now, you know, scared to death. But
We,
the
Oh,
thing
Lord
is
have
that
mercy.
they're really,
technologists, we have always been making room for the politicians, for the administrators and everybody as we accept the back seat. We've been taking the back seat too long. We need
yeah,
to
but
go
we
front.
really got I am thinking that maybe we scientists we have maybe the wrong approach for or an inadequate approach for this third world country. I'm thinking that we need to become more capitalist in our approach. This is what I'm thinking. I've been thinking it for a while. And
I don't have an issue because like I told Mark some time ago, I was talking to my brother about my work, and I could see I was losing him and he was getting bored. So I stopped talking and I invited him to jump in and tell me what he thinking. And the man basically growled at me, what is in what you are doing for you? Don't tell me about it's for
right,
Cardi and for this farming and Regina and this farming and
uh,
charity. I want to know what they in it for you.
right,
And the agriculture that I came up in, my training from extension onwards was that the, 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 the system said that I work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with the Ministry of Agriculture. And they don't want to hear that I involved in any private thing. It was
right.
frowned on. So while they
Yes,
pressured us to learn and be practical, I mean, if Talo or Fat Boy show up in your place and you got iron grass going, and instead of planting some sweet potato or papa to let the thing look as though you are a focal point for people coming when they come to visit your office or home that they're inspired when they walk away. Um, but basically, we were not encouraged to do
no,
that there.
we're not.
Even at home, when I planted at home, I couldn't sell any of the produce. And my father said,
Oh,
"I'll
you
give
got
it
to give
away."
them away.
You have to give it away. So th-
Yes,
there-
yes.
there's a need for that shift in culture that we see this thing as a business, but I still maintain that we need the policy support to help in getting
True,
that enabling
true.
environment.
What I'm saying, Robbie, that as the thinking about how we going to, because life and limb will not last interminably,
Mm.
and how we going to just inject some movement into this thing, not just platitudes and just talking. Um, that we have to band ourselves together and form our own organizations, because one of the things that I find, um, although organizations that have stood the test of time are doing work, Cardi, NARI, UV, all of these, yet the the sustainability of the work that is done there is not there, you know. Once people move off, a lot of things just die. So when you turn back up there 10, 15, 20 years afterwards, there's nothing to put your hand on. Everything is starting all over again. And
Uh, my
I am
dear
thinking
friend,
that we got to do something differently.
Um,
dear
But
Differently.
friend,
but this man can threaten me that I got a part too. So I think we need to
Oh,
let him know that we want to do practical real thing. We want to talk agriculture.
sorry about sorry about that. No,
But before you jump in, Mark, let me say that what Pat just said. I'm trying to remember the name of the farmer. There was a guy here that you left that was head of the sheep and goat society of BAS. He took some of your work or our work as I continued it when you left,
yes.
has actually set up his own NGO and has managed to get funding to try to make feed
Nice guy. Good.
byproduct thing.
Good.
But in the end, I still was a little bit disappointed because the politics that was involved, there wasn't a direct translation of impact of the byproduct fee that he was getting done there. But he was able to raise a fair amount of funds and got the government support. Mia gave him the land and the building at in Graham Hall there, the ministry. And he does have a private something doing what you were trying to do.
This is good.
Smith,
This is
Smith,
excellent.
Smith,
That's
Wayne
what I
Smith,
say. I
Wayne.
mean,
Wayne.
you remember that press
Mm-hmm.
that I introduced? You know,
Yep.
up to now I can't introduce the press into Guyana. And in you, it's an
But like I
amazing.
said, the difference was that in Barbados, they had a problem and they invited you or us or Cardi to get involved in solving it.
Yes.
While in Guyana, it seems as though a lot of what we do is top down. So we pushing things, and sometimes you're pushing and you don't realize that them people don't really want that, them ain't really interested in that. But these
I,
guys out here, a lot of what was happening, are a lot of our programs that we got involved in, it came from them. And they wanted to find a way to get around it there.
it's a
I know
terrible business. It's
Leroy has
real.
complained that he's asked for some of our technologists to go down and help with the black belly sheep thing, and he's very disenchanted that he said the interest, don't even go as far as passion, is seriously missing.
Yeah. We have a very terrible problem in this country. There's no easy way to say it. That
Yep.
is, I was talking with a student this morning, and I was telling him, I said, boy, I really gotta take up this work, you know. But I mean, I don't like, I don't want to fire nobody, you know. So let me keep him in my car now.
Yeah.
You know, because really and truly, we are not making the kind of progress that needs to be made.
I
And
agree.
as I am thinking, yes, we have to form this NGO, and
Mhm.
we have to become the business people. I can't see any
Hopefully
other way.
it gets big enough that it can become at least a lobbying force or influencer to make
Yes,
at the policy
yes,
level happen.
that's what
Matt,
I see.
yes, I did not really want to interrupt you guys much.
We're having a good time, aren't we?
You see, the thing is, uh, while we are here discussing it, no, we will be keeping people glued to this discussion, and I didn't really want them to be here for more than 1 hour.
Yes.
yeah,
So, and we have gone past that hour. So, what I can probably propose is that we get together in another 2 weeks or 3 weeks again and continue the discourse. What you
Um,
think?
I have no issues. I mean,
Happy to do that.
at the end of the day, like I said, my only growth is that my whole life I've been doing writing and talking, and I really would like to be involved in this stage of my career with tangible things there. So, but yeah, I have no issues. I think there's a place for our discussion. Um, it's a pity that our association is not sufficiently vibrant that we could have you guys with these kind of discussions. I'll link to our blog. But like I said, getting all my young peers to catch a fire is proving very difficult to beyond me, and I guess there's a generation gap, and how I effectively communicate there is challenging there. But yeah, I'm willing to partake.
Me too. When I saw Robbie was going to be on, I said, I gotta come and hear what he got to say.
Your friend didn't
Because
change, well,
one
he's
thing,
still the
Robbie,
same.
you know that thing that you have mastered,
So
it
I
that
just
gravity
thank you
flow
guys
thing.
Uh-huh.
for the opportunity this
Interested
afternoon.
in it.
And to
Not a
the viewers,
problem. I mean, like I said, it was an older farmer, and he ended up
with
giving
that,
away
I
the
will
system
close
to a
and
young person.
I hope that we can rejoin you in a very short while, in another 2 weeks, to continue this discourse. And with that, I'll ask our brother Eddie Grant to take us out.